People say that she just vanished. No, people do not just vanish. Everybody sees something. Whether it's stuck in your mind and you forget about it and later on you remember, but somebody must have seen her somewhere. Somebody must have seen who she was with. Somebody must have seen her playing somewhere.
Welcome or welcome back, and thanks for being here. I'm Cassie, and this is A Wicked World. The story I have for you today is about a little girl who went missing from South Africa a little over a year ago, and she is yet to be found. And since then, there have been some terrifying rumors about what her mother possibly did with her. This is the story of Joshlin Smith. Joshlin Smith was born on October 23, 2017, to her mother, Kelly Smith, and her father, Jose MK, in South Africa. She was a soft-hearted and very friendly young girl who was said to always have a smile on her face. The 6-year-old was in the first grade at Diazville Primary School, where she had many friends. Joshlin and her family lived in a small government-subsidized shack that was located in Saldanha Bay, South Africa, which is about 35 miles away from Cape Town. Here, she lived with her mother, Kelly, her mother's boyfriend, Shakeen Apollos, or Bota as he was commonly referred to, and her 2 siblings. Then suddenly, on February 19, 2024, Joshlin's mother, Kelly, reported her as missing. She claimed that her daughter hadn't been feeling well that morning, so instead of sending her off to school for the day, Kelly left her at home around 8 that morning with her boyfriend, Bota, while she went off to work. When she later returned around 5 p.m., both Bota and Joshlin were gone. Authorities immediately began to search for the 6-year-old, and as word spread about her disappearance, many residents joined in looking for her as well. Quickly, Kelly's boyfriend Bota would be found smoking in a shed. That's when the first red flags began to go off for authorities. Because upon Kelly seeing her boyfriend, the very first thing that she asked him was if he had refilled a gas can, not where her daughter was. Then when police began to question Bota, they got the sense that he was hiding something as well, because he got very nervous and started pacing. Detectives also had to ask him the same question multiple times, and he could not seem to remember who exactly had been in the home that day. Eventually, he would tell authorities that the 6-year-old had gone to play with some friends around 2 p.m. and he had never seen her again after. From there, a massive week-long search for the little girl ensued, which included the use of canine search dogs, helicopters, rescue boats, and volunteers going door to door. While Joshlin wasn't located, a police dog did discover a blood-stained bedsheet and pillowcase inside the young girl's home during this time. After there was no sign of Joshlin for days, on February 27, 2024, police had to scale back their search. But they made it clear that they were not giving up.
We have been searching from Joslin went missing on that Monday. We started the search on the Tuesday, and from the Tuesday still now, not even Saturday, Sundays, we're searching, and we really hope to get our child, because and whether she's alive, whether she's not, we just want Joslin, so justice can prevail. And if she is not alive, and I hope and I pray every day that she will be, but if she's not, the community will get closer, and we will make sure that those who did it to her, they must get what they deserve. That's why we just want our child back. But our hopes are, we are firmly believing that she is still alive. That's why we will not stop. SAPS will not make us stop. We will stand here from the morning till the evening. We will stand and we will look for our child, because it's not Kelly's child, it's our child, it's the community child, and we're not gonna stop. That is for sure. We're not gonna stop searching.
Also around this time, Kelly's boyfriend Bota made a public statement saying that he felt responsible for Joshlin's disappearance. However, he maintained that he had no idea what had happened to her. Soon, rumors began flying that Kelly had sold her daughter for around 20,000 African rand, or $1,000. According to Joshlin's biological father, he believed that his daughter's disappearance had something to do with her mother's drug problem and the debt that she had accumulated as a result. He believed that this had caused the mother to sell Joshlin so she could pay it all back. A few days later, on March 2nd, a search was done in an open field near Joshlin's house. And items of clothing that were thought to belong to the little girl were found, stained with blood. However, after the items were sent in for DNA testing, it was determined that they did not belong to her. And once again, police had no leads as to Joshlin's whereabouts. Or so it seemed, because just days after that, on March 5th, her mother, Kelly, who was pregnant at the time again, would be placed under arrest. Kelly's boyfriend, Bota Apollos, was also arrested, along with his friend, Stefano Van Rijn, and a woman named Fumza Sagaya. All 4 adults were charged with kidnapping and human trafficking. There was a rumor that Fumza Sagaya, who was also for some reason sometimes called Makalima, was what's known as a sangoma in South Africa, or a traditional healer. She had been arrested because both Bota and Stefano had alleged that Joshlin's mother, Kelly, had instructed them to leave the little girl with Fumza that day. However, these charges against the alleged sangoma would later be dropped, as there was not enough evidence to prove this. Fumza lived right down the road from Joshlin and her family, but she denied being a sangoma or personally knowing the little girl or her family. Though she did admit she'd seen Joshlin, Kelly, and one of Joshlin's siblings on the day the 6-year-old went missing. Fumza said that she had been inside her own home when the trio had passed her house around 4 p.m., carrying a gas canister. They politely waved to one another, but then she had never seen them again. Fumza would go on to later claim that while she was being held by police, she had been tortured into admitting that Joshlin was in her care. Something that both Bota and Stefano would also say had happened to them while they were in police custody, which was why they had made the false allegations against Fumza to begin with. Now, when Joshlin's mother, Kelly, had originally been brought in for questioning, police discovered that she had only alerted them more than 6 hours after her daughter had originally gone missing. As I had previously mentioned, authorities additionally noticed that Kelly had been rather calm in the frantic search for Joshlin, and she was more concerned with her boyfriend's whereabouts than her daughter's. On March 13, 2024, less than a week after they had been arrested, Kelly, Bota, and Stefano all withdrew their efforts to be freed on bail. It was believed that this was due to the fact that the community had been threatening the 3 as to what would happen to them if they were released. People were furious that Joshlin was missing, and no one was speaking.
We just want the mother in Kelly to wake up. We need the mother in Kelly to wake up. Her child is looking for her. Her child is calling for her. Her child is missing. Is that child is looking for no one, not for one of us who's supporting this case. The child where she is looking for that woman called Kelly.
Then a local pastor would talk to authorities, and he would tell them that back in August of 2023, he had heard the girl's mother, Kelly, saying that she was going to sell her children for around 20,000 rand. She claimed that she had been waiting on some people who were supposed to come earlier but had disappointed her. The mother said that she was also willing to accept a much lower amount for her children, around only $275. Kelly had then rather ominously told this pastor that he would see with his own eyes what would happen around January or February. Apparently, during the search for her daughter, Kelly had spoken to one of Joshlin's teachers who was also helping look for the girl. And Kelly told her that she had received a phone call from a Nigerian male who told her that she needed to pay quickly. Kelly then told the teacher that her daughter was already on a ship inside a shipping container that was on its way to West Africa. When Kelly was asked by the teacher if she had called the police with this information, she informed her that she hadn't, because the community had become so hostile towards her. The teacher stated that Kelly then looked at her and said, "Remember, Bota is not guilty." An employer of Kelly's would additionally speak to police, and she would tell them that Kelly had occasionally cleaned her home. One time, Kelly had informed him that she had been approached by a sangoma who wanted to purchase her daughter. This man stated that he believed Joshlin had been mistaken for an albino due to her light skin and light eyes, and that the Sangoma wanted her for witchcraft. A little while after Kelly, Bota, and Stefano were placed under arrest, a woman named Laurentia Lombard was also arrested, and she was believed to be yet another person who was responsible for Joshlin's disappearance. Laurentia was a friend and neighbor of Kelly's, and she was believed to have been one of the last people to see the little girl. One of the other defendants, Stefano, claimed that he had seen Laurentia leave the home with Joshlin, and then she never returned. He believed that it was actually Laurentia's boyfriend who had given the little girl to a traditional healer. But then the charges against Laurentia would be dropped, and she was given immunity to testify against the others in court. The trial for Joshlin's mother, Kelly, and the two other defendants would begin in March of 2025. By this time, Joshlin still had not been found, and police had very little to go on, it seemed. During the trial, which was held in a community center so that more people would be able to attend, it was revealed that the Department of Social Development, similar to social services here, had been involved with Joshlin's family since 2016. There had been reports since then stating that Kelly was a regular drug user, was abusive towards her family, and didn't have a job. The department had been notified back in February of 2016 that Kelly had been using substances and neglecting her son, who was by now 11 years old. The mother had allegedly screamed at, swore at, and threatened to stab the boy. Kelly had also threatened her grandmother, the same grandmother whom authorities would learn had taken in Kelly's son. And since then, the mother rarely had contact with him, which seems to be a good thing. That same year, they also discovered that Kelly had continued to use drugs throughout her pregnancy with Joshlin. Now, the mother had sought help for her drug addiction multiple times. Once in May of 2018, once in August of 2018, and then again in March of 2020. While Kelly had been living with Joshlin's biological father, Jose, it was said that their relationship was very toxic and often got physical. So the mother, who knew that during these times the home was unsafe for her daughter, would frequently drop Joshlin off with their relatives, Natasha and Lionel Andrews. Now, Natasha and her husband loved Joshlin like she was their own child. The couple had their own children too, so the little girl would spend lots of time playing with them. At the Andrews home, Joshlin had her own bed, and the family even took her on trips, as well as bought her new clothes and new toys. Natasha had even taken care of Joshlin more long-term back in May of 2018 when her mother Kelly had entered a drug rehab program. Natasha and her husband Lionel had attempted to adopt the girl at this point. However, that had fallen through after Joshlin's biological mother and father completely rejected the idea. Now, speaking of Joshlin's mother, Kelly, she would admit that she had smoked the drug Tick, which is similar to crystal meth, on the morning that her daughter disappeared. Kelly went on to explain that on the morning of February 19th, her children did not have any clean clothes, so that's why she had kept them home from school that day. When she had later gone into work after leaving Joshlin and her sibling with Bota, she had borrowed some money from her employer so that she could purchase some drugs. Drugs that she would smoke during her lunch break later that day with Bota. When Kelly later returned back home around 4 p.m., she didn't see Joshlin anywhere and asked her boyfriend where the girl was. Bota told her that she was around, and Kelly took his word for it. The couple, along with Stefano, then left the house to go purchase some more drugs and some gasoline. When they arrived back close to an hour later, Kelly would call out for her daughter, but received no response. At that point, she finally started to worry and began looking for Joshlin. But according to Bota's lawyer, after Kelly had returned home, their neighbor Laurentia and friend Stefano had come over to smoke the drugs. While they were doing so, Joshlin ran off with a friend, and they didn't see her again after. While Bota was being questioned in court, he would also say that after Joshlin disappeared, he had been approached by a male police officer, who instructed him to say that Kelly and Stefano had taken Joshlin to a local Sangoma and sold her for 20,000 rand. The officer then told him that someone would be arriving later to take his statement, and he better repeat the same version of events. So Bota testified that while he had been speaking with this officer later, He had fabricated other parts of the story to make it more believable, including a supposed conversation that he had had with Kelly on Sunday night before Joslin vanished. The court would also hear that when Joslin had first gone missing, her mother Kelly didn't even have any pictures of her to give to authorities. She had to get photos from the little girl's aunt. The mother additionally claimed during an earlier police interview that her missing child had made her famous. Regardless, Kelly's former employer, Carlene Zegers, testified that despite Kelly's struggles, she was still a good mother who had raised her children well, which I have a hard time believing. Then it was time for the state's star witness, Laurentia Lombard, the family's friend and neighbor who had previously also been arrested, but was now testifying. She told the court about Kelly's bad temper and violent behavior, saying that she had previously smashed a window and injured herself doing so. Additionally, she stated that Kelly had once threatened her boyfriend Bota, telling him that she was going to stab him to death. Laurentia claimed that she had gone to Kelly's house on the morning of February 18th, 2024, and at that time, her children were with her. This was something, however, that she had failed to mention in her interview with police. One of the many things that would end up making people question her testimony. Laurentia went on to say that on the morning of February 18th, she had been on her way to Kelly's house so that she could smoke some drugs with them and Stefano. Once she had arrived, she witnessed Kelly and Bota having a heated argument, during which time Kelly had lost her temper and threatened her boyfriend Bota with a knife. After that, Kelly received a phone call, and Laurentia overheard her saying that she was coming now. Then Kelly and Joslin had left the home and walked towards a white car that seemed to be waiting for them. There, Laurentia claimed to have seen a woman who was dressed like a Sangoma talking to the mother and daughter. She then saw the Sangoma hand Kelly something, and the mother slid this in the front of her pants. Upon Kelly and Joslin returning to the home, Kelly told Bota that she had received the money for her daughter. It was at this point that Laurentia confronted Kelly and asked her what was going on. The mother told her that she had sold her daughter to a healer because she was in desperate need of money and badly struggling. She had received around 20,000 rand for the girl, or as I had said, close to $1,000 US. When Laurentia asked Kelly what she was going to do with this money, she was offered 1,000 South African rand, or about $54 US in exchange for her silence. Stefano, who was also there, had been offered around 1,200 rand, or about $65 US. She had accepted the offer, but claimed that she never saw the money. Laurentia had then witnessed Kelly preparing a bag for Joslin, which included pants, a sweater, and underwear. The Sangoma was supposed to be picking her up the next day at 2 p.m., and according to Laurentia, this was exactly what she'd seen happen on the afternoon of February 19th. She had been at the home again that day when she had witnessed Kelly and Joslin walk towards a white car. They both got inside and it drove away. Laurentia then told police officers that the person who had taken Joslin had taken her for her eyes and skin. And according to her, she had tried without success to stop Kelly from selling her daughter. Though the thing is, according to Joslin's brother, Laurentia had not even been at the home on the morning of February 19th. The brother said that he had actually been there for lunch around 2 p.m. that day. And at that time, Joslin was also still there. He left the house a little while later, and when he returned around 6 p.m., his sister was gone. Another child, a friend of Joslin's, had told police that when she had returned home from school on February 19th, she had seen Joslin playing, which would have been hours after Laurentia said that the healer had picked her up. When she was called out by the judge for making mistakes at least 4 times during her testimony, she began shaking and crying. Laurentia would try to say that the discrepancies in her testimony were because she was terrified, confused, and had been using drugs for about a week before she had been taken in for police questioning, so she was not in a sober mind. She apologized and said that she had made a mistake. Laurentia's emotional distress would cause the court to adjourn, with the proceedings only continuing the following day.
Lombard told the court that when she got to Smith's house on the 18th, she was agitated and confrontational towards her boyfriend, Apollos. Joslin was reported missing by her mother the next day.
Kelly came out with a knife. She went to Buta.
En ze zei, Buta, zei ik someone of freak.
Then she said, you I'll stab you to death. My instructions are, and I'm putting it to my client, Apollos. He denies that Kelly, as I've already put, broke a window there, and he denies that Kelly came and threatened to stab him. What's your comment? Do you have a comment about it?
Ek het dit gesien.
I saw that, my lord.
During further cross-examination, Lombard appeared emotional and was escorted away for a short while. When she returned, she was confronted with discrepancies in her statement. The one that seemed to have affected her the most was whether she had taken her children with her to Smith's house on the morning of the 18th of February. At first she said she did, and then she confirmed she didn't.
We spent the last almost 3/4 of an hour on the same point. And now suddenly you're telling me, but you made a mistake. But you've made the mistake at least 4 times.
No,
and it took 45, almost, it's 44 minutes
no,
to get the concession out. Do you have any explanation for this?
My lord, I don't know how to explain this, but I'm sorry, my lord, and for that. My lord, I see the witness is shaking and she's being emotional, my lord.
Okay. Do you want a moment, Ms. Lombard?
When court resumed the next day, Kelly's own sister, Michaela Daniels, would take the stand. She was also a police constable, and she testified that Kelly had told her that Joslin was missing, but she knew that she would be found. Kelly had said to her, "My child is here in the informal settlement, and someone wants to sell my child, but Saldanha is currently a hot spot." When Michaela started to ask her sister further questions, Kelly wouldn't answer and told her that she had already answered these questions for police, so would not answer them for her as well. While Michaela said that Kelly had contacted her the very same day that Joslin went missing, and at first she seemed to be very concerned, Kelly had later seemed rather happy about Joslin's disappearance and told Michaela that Gayton McKenzie, the Minister of Sports, Arts, and Culture, was now financially assisting her. So the court case, which has now been going on for a total of 8 weeks, is still ongoing, and Joslin has yet to be found. An investigating officer on the case said that the extensive and international search for the little girl has included satellite assistance, help from Interpol, and many online researchers. The investigating team has previously tried to use CCTV footage from Diazville and the wider Saldanha Bay area in order to try to locate Joslin. However, they found that there were no municipal cameras on the street where Kelly and her daughter lived. Authorities had also previously received information that Interpol suspected that Joslin may have been taken aboard a ship. But after that ship docked in Wales and was searched, there was no sign of her, and the search for her continues. Well, thank you for listening to Joslin's story today. I think it's pretty clear that her mother, Kelly, sold her to someone, and that's absolutely heartbreaking. How can a mother do that to their own child, not knowing what kind of horrific things could happen to them as a result? Hopefully, she's punished accordingly, and maybe one day little Joslin will be found alive and saved from the terrible fate that her mother sold her into. What do you think happened to Joslin? Is her mother Kelly to blame? So if you like true crime and you want to hear it from me, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button below. And turn on your notifications too, so you'll know when I upload a new video, which is at least 3 times every single week. Thanks for watching A Wicked World today. Until next time, take care, guys. Bye. Thank you to all the patrons of A Wicked World. Now, there's even more of A Wicked World on Patreon, so check it out on patreon.com/awickedworld, or use the Patreon app. You'll have access to exclusive videos each month and more. Any support truly helps to make sure the victims are never forgotten and to highlight the shortcomings of society associated with each case. Do you have a suggestion for a story you'd like to see me cover? If so, send me an email to awickedworldtruecrime@gmail.com.